Today I was going to talk about people that have been killed over the last several months, which we all know about. I think it all started in Las Vegas when they had that concert outside in Las Vegas in the auditorium, and a guy went up to the one of the high-rise um, buildings and with three or four guns and just went up there, opened the window, and just started shooting down on the people sitting there watching the concert, which was sort of ridiculous. All he had to do was pull the trigger. I think there were 50 dead and about 500 wounded in that. And that seemed to be the starting point for all the things that's been happening lately. And then also, right about that same time, a guy walked into a black church in white guy walked into a black church in Charleston and started shooting and killed a lot of people in Charleston, South Carolina. That happened a little bit before the one in Las Vegas. And then as we come down to the last few weeks, we see that the one guy in Florida was sending out bombs in the mail to all the high-ranking Democrats. And then this guy Saturday went into a synagogue in Pittsburgh with a shotgun and 3 small guns and started shooting as hard as he could. And I think he killed 11 and injured 5 or 6. So when we bring all this together, we wonder, how are we going to stop it? And the funny thing about it is, I think as more and more things happen, that gives other people that's sitting in the back of the room, it starts opening up their eyes and their thoughts and their brain cells that they could do the same thing they always wanted to. They never did it, but they could do similar type things. Now, I don't know how you could really stop everything. Like as far as the churches and the synagogues in Pittsburgh, I think you have to have a man stand there with a gun, which I know they didn't have. He stands at the door. And I know most of the banks in the country, and most of the banks where I live, none of them have security guards. One, Bank of America, has a guy stands outside with a gun and he sort of keeps walking around. The rest of them don't have nothing. You say, well, maybe they don't need it. I don't know. But a few months ago, a guy around here where I live, over in Conway, South Carolina, he walked into a bank. The woman came up to him to tell her. He didn't say much. He just pulled out a gun and shot her. Dead. Then he saw there was a girl behind her that was trying to hide. He called that girl out, shot her, dead. Nobody else in the bank. And then I think he got some money and he left. No guard outside, inside. That's the way the story happened. And naturally, he's coming up now, his family's saying he's agreeing to do life in prison, 40, 50 years. But I don't know. I don't know if we want to support people like that. Frankly, that kind of case where they have nothing to protect them, and the women are just working, doing their job. Some of them had children, and then in 2 seconds they're dead. That man needs the electric chair. He's already agreed, his family, he'll take a life sentence. If I had anything to do with it, I'm not giving him a life sentence. And then some of these other places that bother me are these stadiums, because the stadiums are wide open, just like the place in Las Vegas. And naturally, at these football games and everything, and I've been there, and these kids, students, they start drinking like it's going out of style. I mean, they're drinking. And once you start drinking like that, and then you have your enemies across from you, the other team, their fans, their students, it's not hard to pull out a gun and start shooting, especially if you're drunk. And I'm not saying that's going to happen tomorrow or the next day, but that bothers me. Because you always see people in the group, especially from the other team, their fans, that start getting drunk and mad and they want to fight. And then if they have guns, if they have knives, if you're sitting there, there's a good chance one of them might hit you. And another thing is, I think that stadium deal, I don't think it's really come up that much yet, but I think it's next, especially during the games, especially night games, because people can come in those night games. I know they try to check you when you walk in the gate, but they can bring in handguns, they can bring in all kind of things. They can bring them in the afternoon before the game and hide them somewhere, and then when they get in for the game, they go get it, and then they can start killing people. I don't want to say that's going to happen for certain, but that bothers me. Just like it bothers me now, today, to go into a bank, which I have already done, that has no guard at the door. That bothers me. Chances are nothing will happen. But chances are when these people went to pray on Saturday in Pittsburgh, in a real good section of town, real wealthy people in a real wealthy area, they didn't think anything was going to happen. Now, if you would have gone on the other side of town to where I used to hang out, and all these people were running around and roughnecks and everything else, you'd say, well, maybe something will happen over there, but not where these people lived, because they were all wealthy. It's a real good town. The houses cost a lot of money, and you figure nobody's going to bother them, and that's why they were living over there, which is fine. But I would say that a lot of the things that are going to happen, we haven't even thought of yet. But because this drinking, pills, and I know these pills, these people are taking, marijuana's all over the place. They legalized it in Canada, and it's just all over the place in Canada. And I guarantee you some of that's coming in to the U.S. from Canada. I'm just guessing. I'm not saying for certain. But I think the president, and we need to have something in Washington, some committee set up that's going to guide us and also make provisions for all these games, like say, no, you're not playing that football game, Notre Dame and whatever, unless you have some guards, armed guards, at all the doors, at all the entrances. They say, oh, there's 4 entrances. Say, that's too bad. We want to see police there, and we want to see guns in there that they're wearing around their waist. And we want to see them at the door. And that would be the same thing with these other places too. That just like over the one thing over in Vegas, it wouldn't matter anyway. Because if a guy standing with a gun at the door, the one doing all the shooting was 300 yards away, up about 10 stories high, so that guy at the door wouldn't do anything. But most of the time, that man at the door, like if that man was at the door Saturday, and I hate to talk about people who are already dead, if they were there Saturday with a gun around his waist, and he's just sitting there watching, and he sees that guy there bring out a gun and 3 little guns, he would run over there, talk to him. If the man won't do anything, he starts shooting to kill. Now, if he's not there, he can't do it. That's why we got to have these people there. That's why I said we got to have a separate organization set up in Washington to have regulations out for these games and all that. I don't care if it's basketball, football, whatever it is, soccer, and there'll be regulations. And at some of the sporting events, some of the parties, some of the different things parties, whatever, the regulations will change for each one because we're trying to protect lives. And if we know there's no problem there, it's just a lot of children playing with their parents or whatever, don't worry about it. But if we have some guys coming in and we know there's going to be a problem, we have to have regulations and they have to be sent out to these games and all the schools, and we have to have something back in writing that what they're doing and who they're going to have there, and it's already committed. We don't want them to set it up after the game's over or after the party, because then if something's going to happen, those people will be dead. Thank you.